Hey, welcome to Small Towns Unscripted one more time. Now, I said 75 times last time we've done this, but I think we're at 26 shows. So I appreciate everybody watching so far. It seems to be taking off, and it seems to be resonating with people. So I want to welcome a couple guys that I know. One I know pretty well, Mason McClellan. Thanks for coming in.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate the long-term notice I gave you. And
yeah, really long.
got back from Alaska and said, hey, let's go. And Konnar Stevens.
Thanks for having me.
Even shorter.
Yeah.
Even shorter.
And this is Nicole Turner, Tara Chelan. I'm Russ McClellan. Thanks again for watching. Hey, guys, here's the thing. This show, have you guys seen any of the episodes?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the goal is twofold. It's really about helping people get to know each other instead of each other. And I'm curious how you guys, I want to get into that, how you guys already at your age, you're 32?
Not
28?
even close.
You're 28.
Yeah.
And you're
29.
Your sister's 32.
Wow. So
Yeah, I pay attention to my kids when they grow up.
you're good with numbers, is
Yeah,
what you're saying.
Grace did a lot of the work.
Okay.
Anyway, and the other reason is like someday when you have kids and grandkids and great-grandkids that aren't born yet, they'll have a record of something from you that is from the source. One of the things that we talk about with my partners a lot, like I didn't really think about it till my partner in real estate development talked to me about it. He goes, most of the time historical records are based on politicians. They're based on whoever's in power, and they write the stories, and those are the ones that get recorded, historically speaking, around the world. So it's pretty rare, because the technology is fairly recent, that you have this opportunity to be able to tell the stories from the source. So you can imagine, like, I wish your grandpa, my dad, and had something like this for 90 minutes, whatever, and told about his stories. And we've had his friends on, and you know, that are 90, and Otto Ross 99. I mean, it's crazy about things. So those are the two main reasons. It's like helping people unite, and then also just, you know, you'll be able to look back, and someday when you want to torture your kids, you'll sit them down and make them watch this podcast. So
Kind of like your dad makes you watch his old football videos.
Yeah.
Similar fashion.
Yeah.
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 It'll be your turn.
Go to the casino and put it on the big screen.
Yeah.
Oh,
That was good.
And then invite everybody.
Yeah.
Hey, that was well attended and fun.
Your wife did a
I
great
think
job.
it's because it was a co-party, but I'm not going to say which co.
Co-party.
Oh, because your friend was also celebrating his birthday.
Frank. Yeah, because that was fun because Frank was there. Not just me. He was the quarterback.
I'm just giving you a
No,
hard
I
time.
need the humility. Yeah. All right, guys. So here's what I'm curious about. We had, and by the way, I don't know if you guys know this, we had both of these on Home Sweet Home with Russ McClellan radio show once upon a time.
How long ago was that?
How long ago was that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he just showed you how good he is at numbers.
Yeah.
Somewhere 5 to 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know. What were you doing for a living? You were working for,
I don't remember at that time.
driving to Wenatchee for Van Doren.
Was I doing that?
I think so.
Were you in Wenatchee doing KW?
Mm-hmm.
So
It
it
was
was
like
within the last 6 years.
Within the
Yeah.
last 6 years. Yeah. And it went well. I mean, and what's cool is that we're trying to get perspective too from everybody. At least, I mean, that's one of the things I'm curious about generationally.
Yeah.
You know, how do you see this town? How do you see it's changed in your lifetime?
These are our first 20s.
Yeah. I think so.
Almost 30.
29?
Yeah.
Yeah, 29 and 28.
Yeah, you guys are our first 20s.
So you graduated in 2016,
14.
14, and 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So tell me, and you went to Manson High School, or you went to Chelan High School too? Did everybody go to Chelan?
Yeah, we went to Schramm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Went to Manson Elementary School and then
So
Chelan.
let's start there. Growing up here, what would you say, how would you guys describe what it's like to grow up in the Chelan Valley when you did it?
It was fun. I didn't really have any rules. We'd go out, hang out, and then come home whenever. There was no, I feel like it's getting a little bigger now. A little bit more, I don't want to say outside people, but there's a little bit more strangers around. But it used to be you don't go out during Memorial Day weekend. That was one of the things. But other than that, you can kind of just go around. And at the end of the day, you talk about, well, so-and-so called me and said you were doing this. Why are you doing that? So that was kind of annoying. But other than that,
The telegraph game.
yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's fast as speed of sound. How you can get that,
When
that
did you go
rumor
to
going.
Schramm? When did you switch?
Middle school.
Why did you do that?
There was a called the Great Migration.
What was it called?
The Great Migration. There's just a group of people who transferred over.
Okay.
They were having some troubles in the school system, but they fixed it all, and Manson's thriving now.
You're not going to get in trouble. I'm just
I know.
wondering.
That's true, though.
He's
Nothing I said is not accurate. It was struggling, and then they
It wasn't.
Get some
he
stri-
gave
switches.
us the filtered version of
Oh,
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
I tried to pull it out.
yeah, you did.
Tried to pry that one out.
And that's in a transition, right? I mean, when things transition and change, whether it's ideology or just a human being comes in. I know I was talking to somebody that their dad was the principal. I think it was Flugraph or Cantrell. But I think it was Cantrell. But we had like 3 or 4 superintendents
Oh,
in 1 year. Like there was some wild stuff, something like that. I mean, it was the turnover was pretty crazy, and things change, and that's the one thing parents could do is they could say, okay, today, I'm going to move over here. And I remember there was a law change too, where you could now take your kid
Yeah, they definitely did some sort of,
anywhere else, where you used to have to be in the school district where you lived.
yep.
unless there was some big reason.
That changed?
There was like if I remember right, there was like a law
I
that
think you can
allowed
just
it.
kind of appeal or,
Yeah, you have to do
Whatever.
an exception and fill
Yeah.
out paperwork now.
yeah, but it's fairly easy. You're not going to, no one's, no coach is necessarily getting in trouble for trying to bribe you into coming.
And so your mom and dad have lived out here forever.
My grandparents and my great grandparents.
Yeah. So I knew Jack Stevens pretty well.
Yep.
That was your dad's dad.
Mm-hmm.
Right. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a busy entrepreneur.
Yeah, he was busy. Really busy. Lots of different ventures.
Like
Yeah.
most of the stuff right across the street was his.
Yeah, yeah.
Developed that whole area before the Wapito Point, right?
Yep, yep.
And orchards and
Oh, cool.
yeah. So it's
I
and
must be in between all of them because I don't really know any of them.
well, Jack was older than my dad even.
Yeah, but I mean, he's a lot younger than me, but then his mom, I think, is.
His mom's probably 3 years older than Stephanie was in Alice Harris's grade.
Yeah, so I'm in the middle.
And then I think Annette was a year older or 2 years older, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, more like Keith Allen's grade,
Yeah.
that crew. Always super sweet. Always super sweet. So when you grew up, you have brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I got 3 brothers. One
Busy.
older and 2 younger.
Busy households.
Yeah.
How's everybody doing?
Good. Bailey moved back to Manson from working in Seattle. Peyton's helping me with the company. And then Ryder's still in high school.
So, now you own Jet Skis Ahoy,
Yep.
and that was what, a couple years ago?
This is our 4th summer. Got it in 2022. So 3rd year, 4th summer.
Let's talk about that. So did you have any idea when you graduated high school that's what you were going to do?
No, I got a degree in Actuarial Science.
I'm sorry, what?
Statistician.
Yeah. It's high risk management for insurance companies or investments.
So why is your homeowner's insurance what it is?
Yeah.
He
That is
figures
a
out what the odds
wonderful
are.
question.
When I first took my first stat class, they gave me that question, if you flip a coin 49 times in a row,
Yeah.
it comes up heads. What are the odds the 50th time it's going to be heads? I couldn't believe how many people said, oh, it's like 90% chance. 50-50, you idiot.
Yep.
So you took that to the next, like the highest level.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
did you really want to do that, or were you just intrigued by numbers? And
I looked up what's the highest paying mathematical career out of college. And I wanted to,
Oh my God,
yeah. It was
that
pretty.
is so awesome.
Yeah, that's all it did. It's petroleum engineering and then actuarial science was the 2. And I was not interested in petroleum engineering.
so did math just come like a breeze to you growing up?
Yeah, yeah.
You
My
know-
dad also always did like multiplication tables on like our, those placemats and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we were always doing, working with numbers growing up. So
What school did you go to?
for,
Your bachelor's?
I went to Central Washington University for 4.5 years.
Right on. Go Wildcats.
What were the odds that it would take you over 4 years to finish college?
Well, I could have done it in less, but I took, after my 4th year, I extended it for fun.
I'm
so-
sorry, what?
Yeah,
For fun.
I just went for fun because I just needed one class and I drug it out for like a year.
Oh, you wanted to have actual fun.
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
Yeah, he paid
Okay.
he paid the premium extra fun.
Yeah.
I see. I see. That's
Well,
it.
intramurals
That
at
happens.
Central is a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah. I was on a wakeboard team there, so I got to wakeboard.
So
for
when did that
Central.
start for you? Were you young in the wakeboard boats? When did that become a thing?
I got my wakeboard in 1992 for graduation, and it was the first board with bindings. Had
Wow.
bungees on the back.
Well, was that where the boats, the ones, what do you call the boats that the big waves? I'm naive to this.
So wake surf.
Wake surf boats, right?
Yeah,
And then
they have like a ballast. in
was
the
that
back.
in '92?
No,
Oh,
no.
that was
We
just
were
in-
like a bunch of people were standing in the back to make.
The good old crew in the back.
And then there was
Oh,
like
to
a
weigh it
bladder sack you could put in the back later, and then they started building boats with the
Okay.
ballast.
Yeah.
So you had a professional. You just telling me off air you had professional surfers here today.
Yeah.
Out in
they,
the lake.
They went out with me. It was super fun.
Is there like a difference in those guys compared to like your average, above average guys locally, and then you see
Oh, the gap is huge. Oh, they are so good.
those? Really?
They do it so casually. It's insane. It's like it's an art. You watch them and you're like, I don't know how you did that. Like the
It
air
looks effortless.
effortlessly.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just weird to see a
That's good.
professional just in this
So,
area.
so you were a professional as well
No, I was just college.
on a team.
Yeah, and
I didn't even know they had such a thing.
we competed
Well,
nationally.
That was
I am
wakeboarding
18.
though, right?
Wakeboarding, yeah,
That was
but there's
wakeboard.
still wake surfing involved.
Did you do that?
No, I didn't. It wasn't as big. Wake surfing got pretty
Yeah,
big.
wake surfing's kind of newer on the
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
now it's big.
spectrum of wake
I remember not that long ago. I was out slalom water skiing, and
There you go.
I showed Mason, and I thought he'd say something like, "That's pretty damn cool, man. That's athletic." He looked at me and he goes, "That's nostalgic." It's like you're snow skiing on wooden skis. That's pretty neat, Dad.
Yeah. Good for you.
Just keeping it real.
Well, you should
Dad.
try it, kid.
You're
Keeping
still doing it.
real.
Slalom skiing is tough.
It is.
It's
I mean, it's hard to get up.
It's hard to learn.
Once you're up,
Yeah.
but the getting up part is a
Yeah,
struggle.
it's. Why do you think nobody does that anymore? It's just no fun. Like just.
it's harder on your body actually.
is.
It's surfing's the easiest thing on your body
That's
to
what
do.
got you to switch, right?
Yeah,
It's
a little
like,
three-
you
Got
know,
old.
are
No,
you
you
chilling,
came up a
drinking
little
a
short.
beer
Oh.
while you're slalom
You're not-
skiing?
No.
And then the lake has to be perfect, you know,
Yeah.
like everyone wants a glass lake
6
when you're
a.m.
slalom.
Yeah.
And when you're wakeboarding, it's okay. And then when you're surfing, it's like, meh.
That's true. You can do it any time of the day, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're off the water by 6:30 in this lake, at least in
Oh,
the
yeah.
summertime.
Oh, yeah.
That boat chop will crush your skull.
Yep.
If you
Not
try
a
to
thing.
lay down on not happening. That's why the Columbia is so good for that. Because the water's
Yeah.
smoother. So man, you guys have all both had a good time growing up, and then you had no idea until when that I'm gonna go own a marina.
Yeah, what were you doing? Were you using your skills?
No.
You
I
never
was
once
just-
had a job in the insurance field.
No, I applied for Primera health insurance, and thankfully I didn't get the job. I didn't really want it. But I knew everyone who were recruiting because they came to Central a couple times. Most of them were Central graduates. And so I got to skip the whole interview line, and I was first interviewed. But there's just people way overqualified. And again, thankfully. Then I moved back home. Worked at Jet Skis Ahoy for the old owner for like 10 years, and then he sold it to me after that.
Wow.
Well, it's overnight success. Only took you 10 years to get the deal.
Well, right
exactly.
after
You know.
COVID,
Yeah.
when you bought it.
And that's
Yeah.
Congratulations, because that's a huge accomplishment in this town
Thank
from
you.
a lot of perspectives. But
Yeah.
you've earned. Let me ask you about that, because we've talked about this a lot in different generations, but I don't know what the hell happened to people, and this might be aging me up, but you know, we blame the millennials, and we blame Gen Z, and we blame a lot, but I think it's everybody. I don't know what happened with work ethic and this appreciation or lack of appreciation, but you are an exception. You worked somewhere for a decade before you got an opportunity, where most people, I would say, to generalize, if you work somewhere 6 days and they don't get a chance to be the CEO, well, to hell with you, I'm quitting. And I'll pick on real estate agents. I mean, real estate agents are famous for that right now. I said, if you guys, most agents, and the 5% do 95%, so there's some
Yeah.
amazing people that are kicking butt, right? But I don't know why it is, but when someone says, you know, I think I need a work-life balance, you know, I just can't be doing this 30, 40-hour week thing. I joke around, but I seriously had an agent tell me that she needed 6 hours of daytime television or she couldn't keep her sanity.
Wow.
I was like, dude, you need to get a job that pays for time, not commissions. Wow. Because that's going to be a tough thing to do being self-employed. And I don't care whether you own a Jet Ski Ahoy's or you own a clothing company or whatever, butcher shop, doesn't matter what you own. If you're self-employed, there's nobody else going to be there just going, oh, by the way, here's your money.
Yeah.
So my specific question is, guys, like, do you see a difference in people? Or are you just like hiring people now that you're an owner?
Yeah. Well, I remember when I worked for my old boss, we were like go-getters, and like we were trying to maximize profits in the company when he was absent, and I could never even imagine my employees doing that. If they had any time where we weren't present or something, they'd take advantage of it, or they would like relax or like not better the company. They would, they're not like the go-getters like we used to be.
Okay, so that's exactly what I'm talking about. Why do you think this has changed?
I don't know. That's hard.
Go ahead, yeah. You're 30, so you're right in there.
Thanks. Call me old.
No, on you young.
No, but I mean, we were talking about this earlier. One, social media, but also two, I think necessity. We've made everything so much more comfortable and convenient that then you lose the necessity to have to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, we also talked about how easy it is to apply for another job
Yeah.
where you put your name out there.
Well, are you, what are the, I mean, I'm just guessing that you're hiring
Yep.
kids
Yeah.
for the summer.
Yeah.
So
Seasonal work.
Yeah. And a lot of our staffing is like seniors in high school to like college
they
age.
come home for the summer.
Yeah.
And
And-
are they repeat?
We are new company, so yeah, now we're getting repeat. And we actually have a really good staff this year. The first couple of years kind of scrambling for staff. Now we're like more prepared and on top of it. So we have the whole interview process, over hiring, and then we get to be selective through the whole thing,
Yeah.
which is really beneficial. And we do get the 5% of the people who want to be there and are trying to think more about the company than themselves. So that's cool.
And it's funny because when you talk about it, there's often a lot of, especially my age, there's a lot of judgment, but it's not that they're bad people. What I've discovered is they just don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
Their ideology is just programming as a kid is just different. So I've said, everybody got a red ribbon. That's part of it. Helicopter parenting, we did it to a lot of kids, where you don't get to do that to my kid. My kid's going to start on this, or I'm going to yell at the superintendent. There's a lot of that where our dads are like, whack, toughen up. Like, you didn't make the team. Like it is what it is. Fortunately, in a small school, in Manson, it wasn't as hard to make the team.
Played every sport every day.
Yeah, everybody's in because we need it. I joke and like, you just didn't get the luxury of playing video games because we beat your ass and make you get in the game. We needed a starting fifth player, so it didn't matter if you liked it or not. Just pure pressure at its finest.
So when you were working there in that first 10 years, was there a point where you thought you wanted to buy it and that's why you stayed, or did it just kind of happen?
There was a point where I saw and was speaking with the old owner, my boss, like that he wanted out. And so it was kind of like really good timing where he was wanting to transition out and I wanted to transition in. And so we got to talking. It was 3 or 4 years in the making too.
Okay.
So it wasn't quick.
Yeah.
And then really how the whole thing turned out, it was really God-given. It like everything aligned, everything worked out, and then the transition was smooth. And
So then what do you do in the winter?
Just relax, kick
Mason's
back,
laughing.
travel a little bit,
Nothing.
hang out with Mason.
Looks like you're working out.
Yeah.
Eating
Got a lot of
right.
spare time.
Yeah.
Still trying to figure that out. We're adjusting still. But
You built the gym.
yeah, I built the gym, but
Yeah, well, that's fantastic, and that's a great example of, you say good timing, but the good timing was created by hard work and persistence. I mean, if you would have said a year before, well, bullshit, I'm out of here, well, it wouldn't have been good timing because you didn't hang in there.
yeah.
you know, and that persistence. I have a plaque that's been with me since I was 19. That you never know when that good timing is going to happen, and so it's a great lesson for a lot of people that know you, older, younger, all of us. Like, keep going. Just don't quit. I mean, that's the lesson, because the quit and the blame game, which often go to hand in hand. Like, I hear, like, the interest rates suck, the inflation sucks, my broker sucks, the leads suck, the buyers are assholes, like, whatever it is, right? That's just all excuse making. Grind it out, keep doing the work, and eventually, if you want it bad enough, you'll get it, right? I mean, I remember you, Mason, when you were a kid, you were in the 3rd grade, and the teacher asked, like, what do you had a piece of paper, and I was talking to your mom about some stories about you. I'm going to embarrass you later in this broadcast. But she said, when you were in 3rd grade and everybody's like, what do you want to be when you grow up, 1, 2, and 3, most people would be like, I want to be a football player, I want to be a police officer, I want to be a doctor. What Mason said, Marine, 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 in the 3rd grade. Like, what the heck? Can you reflect? Do you remember that?
No,
Okay.
not at all.
No. So then you went on to become in the Marines for 5 years and got out as a sergeant. And I was just curious, like, how did you know that? Or was that your grandpa?
Probably grandpa. Yeah, probably had something to do with it.
Because he was drafted into Korea. This is the good news about being at an active store.
Welcome to a small town.
Hey, you want on a podcast? Come
It's
on.
a guest appearance.
Hey, you don't get to charge us double. Heck, our video guy's getting the.
I'll just leave it at her house.
There you
You can
go.
leave it here.
Okay.
Thank you.
So
Just
it's-
UPS. What can Brown do for you?
It's all good. Hey, man, they're coming in. So you went on and
Probably grandpa.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think I saw like how, like working with him from when I was young and then up to middle school. Then when I got a real job.
and let's talk about
Stop.
persistence, because you also both have something in common. That is, you both broke ankles, right, in the same year, and were
Yeah.
both out of sports for an entire year.
Did you
Which
guys do that
one
on
was-
purpose?
which
I
one
don't
was yours?
understand.
My left.
I left too. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys have a plan? We're taking
Yeah.
next year off.
Well, I did mine in team camp, and his was
Third game
game in. Yeah, and I was on the sideline on crutches when he broke his.
So you
That's
saw
weird.
it happen immediately. And you're like,
Yeah,
"Ooh,"
and then we
yeah.
were just on the sideline with crutches, trying to do spins and, stay occupied.
Yeah.
Crutches.
And then you had to come back. I mean, that was your junior year and your sophomore year, I think.
My sophomore year, his junior year.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you. And at the end of the day, you had to get rehabbed. You had to go through all that, and you had to stay persistent. You had to stay up, and you had to get back in the game. And that's not easy to do when you lose, when you're into sports and you lose a whole season, a whole year. So that's an example of persistence. So when you wanted to be a Marine, it wasn't easy to get into the Marine Corps.
No, and it was kind of tough because, like you said, I didn't think about anything else. So I tried to think, like, what would I have done if I didn't? No idea.
Worked at Jet Skis Ahoy.
Maybe. Unless he took over and I quit.
This is a very interesting story. Tell the story what happened when you tried to get into the Marine Corps.
Well, I don't think we really know how it happened. We just know, well, I went to Wenatchee, and I had a shoulder injury my sophomore year or my senior year of football. And so I had the ankle, and they were like, well, you have metal in your ankle. You got it. That's probably not going to look very good on your application. So we went and got surgery and got all the metal taken out, even though they told me to leave it in. But I was like, well, I ain't got no other options. So we're getting this metal all taken out. And then went back to him like, hey, I got my metal taken out. And I think he was kind of like, what? I was hoping to not see you again.
Because the doctor's called
Yeah.
it's called MEPS.
MEPS,
MEPS. They have to review your physical condition in addition to your testing.
Yeah, you
and
just
stuff.
got to pass the physical. And so I think with the shoulder and with the ankle being a big one, I think they kind of were just, yeah, well, we'll look at you. And then so when our buddy Matt Barnes was going to, I think, Burlington. I don't remember. It was Burlington, I think we went over there.
That's where we ended up. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we went over there.
But first, what happened when you first got denied?
Yeah, well, yeah, I got denied, and then you go to this thing called a med board if you want to try to get in still, and that's where I was kind of at for a while. And then we went over to Burlington because my buddy Matt was going through that recruiting office at the time, and he just kind of mentioned it to me. So I was like, well, let's just go talk to your recruiter and see what we can, maybe restart or try again, or just kind of grasping at straws at this point. And we made it over there and asked them, like, hey, you want to join the Marine Corps? Like, yeah, sweet. They're always ready for that. And
This is after the Marine Corps officially said you can't
Yeah.
get in the Marine Corps.
yeah, you're done. Well, they said I was in the med board process, which I didn't know at the time, but there were some other steps that maybe I wasn't actually in the med board process. So when I asked him, like, oh, I want to join, but we've talked to this recruiter over there, he said I'm like getting med boarded or in the review process. And he goes, well, if you're already doing that, I can't help you. So we were like, well, can you at least check to see where I'm at? Because I haven't heard anything back. And he goes, yeah, that's easy. I can check that real quick. And he looked me up, and he's like, are you sure you talked to a recruiter? I'm like, pretty sure. Came to the office a couple times, and
We had it in writing that
yeah,
there's a hard file in the office in Wenatchee that eventually I remember when you came back when you're dressed blues and
Yeah.
saluted the guy that had said you don't get into the Marine Corps officially, and you're in the Marine Corps now, you're in uniform. He's like, what the hell are you doing here?
yeah,
And so, and we had this little piece of advice from a guy that I knew that said you might want to go to the other side of the mountains. And
yeah. That's where like kind of gets a little, because I know for a fact I talked to the recruiter, and we have paperwork. So somewhere along the line,
It didn't get submitted.
I
or
don't
it
think
got
he liked you.
oh, and I'm all busted up, and you got a lot of paperwork to do. It's probably I get it.
It's not
If
easy.
yeah,
well,
it's
and
a lot of work.
Here's what we learned. I had this friend that is very high up in the Marine Corps and
Mhm.
retired, like very, very high up. So I called him and asked him, this is ridiculous because they didn't even look at the actual medical file. You didn't have a medical inspection. Some dude just said no. And that's the part that bothered me, right? Because again, I'm into that persistence thing too. Since I'm 19, I'm your dad trying to work. And to your credit, most people would have just said, okay, the United States Marine Corps said, I'm not allowed to be in the Marine Corps, denied. But you said, okay, what do I do? I go, we're going to go somewhere else. And we knew Matt and ended up in Burlington. But here's the lesson for parents that, are in this situation. This is what I learned. Eastern Washington and Western Washington have different MEPs.
Very different. Yeah.
Eastern Washington has a quota. Now, these Marines, that their job are recruiters, they have to meet a quota. In Eastern Washington, a lot of young men grow up with guns. They grow up outside. They grow up. And because it's a much smaller population, the quotas are much easier to hit, especially since every kid grew up with a BB gun, Daisy Red Ryder, right? You go to the west side of the mountains, and these cities have much higher quotas because there's much larger, 4 or 5 million people, and fewer people grew up in the cities with Daisy Red Ryder BB guns. So consequently, the relationships, this is the lesson, between the doctors, the MEPs, and the recruiters is much tighter. There's much more work to help people get through rather than just, I meet my
Nope,
quota
met my
automatically.
quota. I'm done.
So that was the delta. Now, if there was something magical that happened behind the scenes and the files got erased, I don't know anything about that. But you got into the Marine Corps.
Yeah. So I went there, and he said, you're not in the system at all. And so then I said, my name's Mason. Can I join the Marine Corps? And
He's like,
we
cool.
went to there, and that was fun because I would once or twice a week I'd have to go over to Burlington, and like work out with their pulley section, or what do they called it, and then went out through the West Side MEPs. And that was off to the races because I had
So this is
no
like
idea.
opposite of getting your passport scenario.
What do you mean?
Well, it's easier if you're on the east side to go
Oh, I
to the
see.
west side
really?
to be a Marine because of this
Yeah.
quota thing. But it's easier to get your passport in a rondo
Hmm.
than
true.
anywhere else.
It's because less people. Right?
They have a same kind of thing. I didn't know this. This is for all of you out there that need to get your passport renewed. Go to a rondo because every post office, it goes in order. So that goes down the line. They take one passport application from each post office. So how many are in line at a rondo?
Yeah.
So basically, every time it loops around to a rondo,
You're
you're in. You're in.
Imagine downtown Seattle has a few more people.
Right.
And
So
a lot of
see-
passports.
See
I'm
what we
flying
learn?
out of
See what we
SeaTac.
learn on small towns. That's
It's
great.
wild. And Mason, you went into reconnaissance. So you had a 5-year contract. So you wanted to be a reconnaissance special forces guy. And tell me what that was like.
Tough, yeah.
First of all, how was boot camp?
Boot camp was good. I mean, it's not like it is back in the day, like when like the old Marines they got it pretty good. The new age, it's tough if you're not like used to that kind of thing, or yeah, it can be tough, but it's more you just got to kind of turn your brain off.
A lot of yelling.
Yeah, a lot of yelling, but
Not a lot of beating you up.
you can't really do that. That's what I thought I'd get going in, and then you get a little bit of it here and there. Like back, they can sneak it in when they can, but you're not getting the body hardening is no longer a thing in boot camp.
And that was in probably 2019, I think, probably 2016.
Yeah, I went in 2016, I think, January 2016.
What's body hardening?
It's just,
Roughing you
For
up.
Yeah.
uneducated people, is that like they're literally physically hurting you?
yeah, like you just tough, like it's like calluses, kind of like you like
But
lay
just-
down and let people step on you. Like I don't really know exactly what they did, but that was like part of it was you went there to get tough, and they would make sure you left there pretty tough, dude.
And to learn how to listen
Yeah.
and shut up and do what you're told. Because
Yeah.
when I say
Oh my
take the
gosh.
hill, take the hill. Don't ask me like, wait a minute, there's 30,000 people and 30 of us. What do you mean take the hill? That's a bad idea. You don't want that. You want take the hill,
I
right?
need 8-year-old boot camp.
They could probably do it. We can start it up. So
It was definitely difficult, like for sure. It's not easy.
And then you went to.
but-
Did you go to rifleman school after that? Before
Oh,
reconnaissance.
So every Marine's a rifleman,
Mm-hmm.
so that's what you do. Like that's second phase. I don't really know about nowadays. I think there's a fourth phase in boot camp now, but for when I was there, it was second phase. You go up to Camp Pendleton, you learn how to be a rifleman because every Marine is supposed to be able to handle a rifle and hold their own. That's every Marine's a rifleman. Really, there is a rifleman, 0311. They are riflemen. Everyone else, you're.
They probably call them BS every time they say that.
I would if I was if I was 03 guy, I'd probably say that. Yeah, but I just say that everyone else is a Marine. They do their job and they can shoot a rifle.
Right.
But I would say just for the respect all the infantry guys out there.
So eventually you ended up in the actual school of reconnaissance training, right? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, for a short amount of time. Yeah, my body wasn't too keen on being there.
So how long were you in that?
I don't know. I think 4 or 5 weeks maybe.
But you remember it well, wasn't it?
Yeah. No, that was tough.
That was tougher than boot camp?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be like, yeah, a lot tougher.
So how would you compare that to like I don't know. I know it's like Bud's training and the SEAL training is known for being in the super cold water and super
Yeah,
difficult.
it's not up there.
Not up
that,
there?
No, it's so. And I didn't go into recon. My path went somewhere else. But with the limited knowledge that I have, it's like an advanced infantry, kind of more like a special infantry unit. They do the jump out of planes, the combat dive, all that good stuff. But it's not quite like MARSOC level. Like
Well, what I
SEAL.
remember as your dad listening to you, you didn't struggle too much on land.
No, land was fine.
But the irony, which was another surprise to me, and this is another lesson for kids growing up around a lake. And I have funny stories about being in trouble, letting you dive off the Chelan Hills dock at 3. You're damn near in diapers. And the moms were all upset that you didn't have a life jacket on. Mason's running the whole thing, diving off, swimming back around. I go, he's not dead yet. So I thought he could swim, which he could. He's been swimming since he was a little kid. And yet, when you got into the pool and they said, now tread water for 8 hours, or whatever those things that you were doing,
Yeah.
you were telling me some of the people that had it the easiest were the swimmers on the swim teams. That had the
Water
technique.
polo.
Water polo.
Water polo, you never get to touch. I
Yeah.
tried that for that IMA at UW.
Oh.
Nope.
Yeah,
Hardest
no.
thing I have ever tried to do is
Well, I tried
never
to go.
touching.
I tried to go infantry, and that was what I wanted. And then, but infantry is always taken, like at that time at least. Like Marines, just that's kind of what you think of when you think of a Marine. You're like, oh, like infantry. If you asked anyone, that's who they think of.
We were
Like,
talking about after reconnaissance, after you got hurt.
no, this is when I was trying to go in. I wanted to be an infantry guy.
Okay.
And they were like, well, we don't have any contracts. And so then I think I wanted to try to be an armorer or something like that, just for the guns. And then they're like, he was like, well, we have this recon contract. And I was like, I don't know what that is. And they explained it, like, doing cool stuff, jumping out of planes. I was like, yeah, I could do that. Let's do that. He's like, wait, can you swim? I was like, yeah, I can swim. I grew up on a lake. He's like, but can you like really swim? I'm like, I feel like I'm a pretty good swimmer. And he's like, if there was a pool, could you like get to the like a 15-foot pool? Could you get to the bottom of it? I was like, yeah, I could do that. He's like, yeah, you'll be fine. It was not fine. Not
That's
fine
a
at
typical
all.
recruiter. Sign up.
Yeah, not fine at all.
You're good.
Which I was struggling through the pool, but I was making it, and then it was just the old shoulder injury that,
Yeah.
that put me out.
I wonder if you need a shoulder to just tread water.
What did you do with your shoulder?
I separated it pretty good before in high school.
Yeah.
So, and then I just kept separating it throughout the year, my football. It's
Just
back-
a lesson for a dad too. Back then, I had allegedly I had a doctor call it something else,
Allegedly, yeah. I think we said I was just being a
and
you know,
allegedly got
bleep.
some shots, and then allegedly
Oh my
he got back in the
gosh.
game. And then it surfaced later on, and then it was reality because they were like saying, "Hey, look, dude, the reason we're going to break your body down, and because if you're on a battlefield with you and you go to 4th Recon or whatever, you're a sniper, you got one guy with you, and you got to carry a 250-pound guy out. Are you gonna be able to? I mean, so there's reasons why they press you physically and mentally. I thought it was interesting that you told me the mental side was also difficult because when you're essentially drowning, and then they try to drown you more.
Yeah.
And that's that fight or flight that they work on.
Yeah, like I said, I when my shoulder went out, I had a tough decision. But when I got out of that, so I commend anyone that's gone through that and made it all the way through, because the land stuff is fine. Like, as long as you just don't stop moving, that's really what they care about. Like, they want the guy that's going to fight. Like, that's not going to, like, you might slow down. And there are some, like, at least when I was there was some, like, times, like, you have to hit this mark. But for the most part, they're like, as long as you don't stop, as long as you don't quit.
Don't quit. Yeah.
In that land, it's easy. Just don't quit. Like, worst case scenario, I'll just pass out right here, and I'm sure they'll come get me and figure it out. And in the pool, yeah, you feel like you're gonna die. Like, you feel like
Yeah, that feeling
You
of
know?
drowning is real. I mean,
yeah,
Well, they waterboy people for torture. For
yeah, it's
Like, that's-
scary.
yeah.
yeah. But and it was just, I mean, those water polo guys I went in with like 4 or 5 of them. They were all college water polo guys, and they helped me out a little bit in the pool. They were, yeah, because
They're crushing it.
yeah, they just thing like clear the bottom of the pool. So you go down. You have to, like, you can't dive down. You have to, like, go standing and go down. But they put, like, weights and stuff, bricks or whatever at the bottom. You got to bring it back up. Then you, like, pass it to and from your buddy. And I told I was like, I don't want to make it sound like I was doing great. I was skin of my teeth making it every single day.
Persistence.
Yeah, but my buddy that I was with, his name was Mellock. I couldn't eat breakfast. I was just like, that pool had me by the grips. It was, and so I was like, dude, it's gonna be rough again today. And he's like, don't worry, like, I'm behind you in line. I'll look out for you a little bit. I'm like, all right, sounds sweet. And we're going. He's like, clear the bottom pool. I'm like, just hoping there's not a brick underneath me. And I look down, sure enough, there's this little dumbbell down there, and I go down there, and I just like, all right, here we go. And I go to grab it, and my buddy Mellock's arm sticks between my legs and grabs it out from underneath me, and he's the college water polo guy, and he's still struggling too, but those guys are just built a little different.
I'm telling you what, that is a next
Yeah.
level of endurance.
Oh yeah, it's the
And
ultimate
technique too.
technique. Like,
learning.
you can do your egg beater, your frog kick, and I had no idea what that was. So I was like, I
Do a
looked at
breaststroke.
yeah, learning how to do an actual breaststroke, which is nice. It wasn't just swimming; it was just like the deep end cards, like the deep end stuff was
Yeah.
treading water.
Well, and then again, when one door shuts, another one opens. You didn't become an actuarial scientist. You now own a marina. You didn't get into recon, but all of a sudden, magically, you became in the aviation side
Yeah.
that's in San Diego. And I was like, I remember when you told me that, I got my MOS. What is the MOS that you did?
It was avionics.
Avionics.
Yeah.
And so you ended up, long story short, you became a crew member in a V-22 Osprey
Yeah,
Squadron, Evil Eye Squadron, based out of Miramar
yeah,
in California. Now, that's a pretty damn cool job relative to a lot of jobs in the Marine Corps.
yeah. And I think it was good. I learned later. I was really down when I got hurt and had to switch my job, and it was like there was a moment when I was flying once, and I saw these other guys, and I was like, oh, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. Like, you want to do that because you watch the movies and you think, like, I can do that. No, those guys are special. Like, all those guys, SEALs, those dudes are special. And it's, I was like, I kind of came to terms with it a little bit. I'm like, oh, because I struggled with that for a while, coming from a small town. You know, you succeed in like some things, you're a pretty good athlete. Yeah,
For
and then you get out there and you're like, oh, that guy just ran a 3 mile in 18 minutes. Like, whoa, like that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and that's
so it felt
these
good.
life lessons, right? Like the 10 years working hard to get to a place, or battle through all these expectations and then not quit. And then the next thing you know, boom, the sun comes out and you actually get a position that is more attractive to you than you ever thought it would be. You wouldn't even have thought about it, avionics. And then you're now flying around when you're deployed on the USS Boxer in the Middle East. And so all of a sudden you get to go inland and all of the other Marines are stuck on the boat.
Yeah, my buddy Mellock was deployed as a recon Marine, and so we'd see each other on the boat every once in a while. And then after they went to, I think, Jordan or something like that. And
Yeah, I remember when you got into that, and I don't know if it was like the ASVAB scores or whatever. Would you cheat? Like,
no, I guess.
you go, what? Yeah, I remember you being. I was kind of joking.
Yeah, well, there was like 10 of us that day that were getting jobs assigned to us, because when you get out of that training, they just put you in this Lima company.
Wherever, right.
Well, they put you in a company, and they basically go, like, you're just going to wait there until we decide where to send you. And that's where you're at the needs of the Marine Corps, which is like the worst thing to hear, because that's just anything. They're like, the first 8 guys got motor T, so like truck driver, which looking back wouldn't have been terrible now that I'm doing. But and I was like, okay, so I'll probably be motor T. Sounds good. And I go in there, and there's these 2 master sergeants. One was like a ground side guy, and another one was an air guy, and big bald, what could have been you, big bald white master sergeant. And he's like, McClellan. I go in there, and he's like, all right, well, you're avionics. I was like, all due respect, Master Sergeant. What the avionics? And he goes, aircraft electrician. I was like, Master Sergeant, I don't know anything about electricity. He goes, well, you're about to learn. Go pack your stuff. You're going to Florida.
So isn't that human condition, or that need for certainty, that is plaguing so many people in life, and stops them from growth and stops them from that, getting out of their comfort zone? That's another great example of like, bam, you don't have a choice. You're going to Florida.
Yeah.
You could have easily gone over here. And
I mean, I almost feel like it might be a little bit easier when you're being told.
maybe.
Takes the
It's
guesswork
hard,
out of it.
like when you have the world is your oyster amount of choices,
Yeah.
that you could go do that or you could go do that. It's like, maybe you get frozen. But when you're there, it's like, this is what you're doing. Well,
Yeah.
Well, and I
You're
guess
doing it.
the point I'm trying to make is, when your heart was set on being this, and you were instantly, I'm out of that, and there's no going back. I'm done with that.
Oh, it was tough.
And then somebody else is going to decide my life for me, and I'm going to say, okay, it's that transition of heartbreak to re-engaging. I'm going to take all this as a lesson and move on. And then, I remember you sending me video of you shooting a 50 cal out of the back of the V-22, and you're like, I just spent $10,000 of the Marine Corps' money.
Yeah.
And I go, what are you shooting at? And you go, the ocean. I go, you hit it? He goes, yep. I go, well, at least that's good.
Barely.
I don't know if you're supposed to be sending me videos from the V-22 in Jordan or wherever. And you send me
No, that wasn't.
pictures of monkeys in Thailand.
That was probably
pictures-
later. Yeah.
I don't know what you're sending me pictures randomly all the time, and you had a camera in Jordan. You're like,
Yeah, Jordan.
How are you getting? You look like you're on vacation all the time. Are you guys ever working?
Well, that's what you ask any
Well, he's
Army
not
guys,
sending
they'll
you
tell you
pictures of
that.
Yeah.
That's what like Curtis always said. You guys are just on a vacation.
Yeah, well, and you said because you were in the V-22, you were able to go inland.
Yeah, so we did Kuwait and then Iraq for a little bit.
Yeah.
We worked with some guys over there, but that one was supposed to be longer over there, and then I think some political stuff happened, so we had to pack up.
And then
get
I
out.
remember you telling me this story. You said when you came to terms with not being a reconnaissance Marine, when you had a bunch of special operators,
Yeah.
because V-22 often packs them around, right? The
Yeah.
special operators, and you saw them, and you said something to me like, I mean, you could describe it, what you saw.
Well, I don't know who they were. They wouldn't tell us then, because we weren't technically probably there. They had us take off our name tapes and all that stuff, and I kind of was confused because it says giant letters U.S. Marines on the side of the plane, so I didn't get why we were trying to be so secretive. But we
Above your pay grade.
way above. We picked up these guys, and we had to go through customs at this airport over there, and I turn around. This guy is like, "It's hot." I'm like, Yeah,
The desert.
it's Iraq. Like, it's hot. I don't need to explain that to you. Like, and he's like, I just turn around and he's, hey, you don't need water? I'm like, yeah, because we carry a package of water at all times over there, like a big case of water. But it's boiling. Like, you're not drinking it because it feels good. You're drinking it so you don't pass out. And so you're drinking it. It hurts to drink. It's so hot in that plane. He takes it, and this guy's big. It's a big individual, and he's like yelling at me, like, "The water's hot." I'm like, "How? Sorry?" Like, I don't know.
I don't carry
Yes.
ice.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and so I turn back around, and some stuff was happening. So I turn around, and I see this. He had taken his shirt off, and he's just standing in the back of the plane. And I look at him like, "Jeez," just probably like 6'4", 240,
You're
just
looking
jacked.
at Atlas.
And I remember it like clicked in my head. I'm like, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I'm like,
That's the moment.
I was like,
Humility. That-
yeah, I was
You're
like,
like,
you look at all those guys that walked in and looked so cool. I was like, dang. And then I saw that guy just huge, and I was like, oh man, I'm supposed to be an aerial observer on a B-22.
And it was
That's
funny.
exactly where I'm supposed to be. Because I can tell you right now, I'm not that.
well, okay, so, but then your business deals a lot with insurance, I would
Yeah.
assume. So you're kind of in a different realm of the insurance world
Yeah, I
on
still
the
deal with
receiving
insurance
end.
day to day.
of-
Yeah,
Does it help? Because I think insurance is one of the biggest rackets in the world right now.
yeah, it does help because I'm more aware of what even like what they don't really teach you in school, what insurance is, what deductibles are, what premiums are, how you change that. You're kind of just like, oh, here's your quote.
Yeah.
You want it or not? It's like,
Right.
Yep.
I mean, what class is in college or high school that is like insurance 101?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or, anything 101.
Nothing
Well,
really
they
teaches
make
you
more
about
money
life.
if they don't teach you.
Yeah, you're just stuck in the dust.
Well, that's got to be difficult when you see somebody, crash. Just why don't you describe what your business is for the people that don't know what Jet Ski Ahoy does and where it's at in town.
It's kind of across from Slides, up lake a little bit. It's the
Slide
pirate
Waters, the water slide park.
one, Water Slide Park. We rent jet skis, boats, pontoons, and then we also have a surf boat. We rent, and we're open 8 to 8, 7 days a week in the summer.
Are you open right now? Are you getting ready
Yep,
to open?
we're open right now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Memorial Day weekend.
Can people rent a driver too?
You can request a driver, but we just find someone for them to drive.
Because I know people I've
Have
heard
asked.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like a group of girls wants to come
Sure.
over and they've never driven a boat
Yeah.
and they don't want
Yeah.
to. They want to
Yeah.
have their bachelorette
Jello
party or
shots.
We just
Yeah,
find them a
whatever.
friend who can drive for them is what we do.
And I just can imagine how many guys come in on a jet ski instead of
Just
like,
ram the dock or-
hit the gas.
Yep,
It happens, right?
it does.
Oh,
It does.
really?
And do you, as an actuarial scientist that you are, do you ever go, God, the premium just went up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
He's
mean-
like, I'm not going to claim that. 'cause I don't want
Exactly,
my
that's
premiums
the-
to go up."
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the little net they have you in.
Yeah.
You're kind of caught. It's like, do you claim that or do you brush it on the rug? Because
It's probably cheaper just to pay to
financially,
fix it.
yeah, you have to
I-
factor in all that.
I had E&O insurance. There's no emissions. It's like malpractice.
Oh,
For 30 years, no claims.
wow.
Had a claim. My insurance at the time was $37,000 a year. That insurance company sent me a renewal, and they said, "Well, you had a claim. I know it's your first one in 30 years. We'd like $200,000 a year."
No. Oh my God.
That's why I call it a racket. Now
Yeah.
we were
It
able
is
to
a
get
racket.
we were able to get a different company for $47,000 a year,
It
and we had
is
like
a
90
racket.
agents and stuff. But my point is, it's just a racket.
Yeah.
I mean, you're forced to not turn in claims,
Yep. Yeah.
and I don't know if there's anybody can do about it.
But you're forced to have it.
Yep. Required.
Yep.
yeah, that's
And you
yeah.
probably you can only charge a client for, do you have their credit card? I'm imagining.
Yeah. If usually fiberglass work isn't too much money, it can be, and it's exponential where it totals the boat pretty quick or the jet ski. But usually it's just minor, and it can be fixed pretty affordably. We have a guy, Billy Linder, in town. He does phenomenal work.
That's great. Does he have his own business or he works for you?
Yeah.
His own business?
Dirt detailing.
Dirt detailing?
Yeah.
There you go.
He does all of our skis and our boats. Whenever anything breaks, and luckily we don't need to file, like whole insurance, for example. Kind of, I mean, we got like about 20 jet skis, and so whole insurance, let's just do basic math, is $500 a year on whole insurance. Well, 20 times 500,
10 G's.
yeah, it totals it. It doesn't, we don't total a ski every year, so financially it doesn't equate to where you need to buy whole insurance for your skis, because on average you'll probably total a ski once every 3 years.
Yeah, see how what he did helped him in his future.
Mathematics.
Yeah.
Even though he had no idea he was going to be a Jet Ski Ahoy owner.
Yeah.
That's
While in
I
college.
mean, morals here. I just feel like things are working out how they're supposed
And it's
to.
good. It's
Yeah.
good role.
For
I
both of
mean, the
you.
reason I wanted you guys both on is you're good role models. I mean, there's so many kids and adults that are lost, and I think post COVID, you're seeing a lot more of it. We had the Only 7 Seconds founder, Kristen
Yeah.
Wall and John Wall on,
Awesome.
and we got Luke Wall scheduled to be on to talk about that some more, because it's a very important topic. And you probably see it. You probably have friends that are going through some depression. They're going through, those kids that, you guys got hurt, and at least you got to play. A lot of people got shut down their last couple of years in high school. And,
Yeah.
in a small
That's
town,
sad.
you can imagine that's pretty damn devastating.
Yeah.
So you're good role models. I mean, you're good men, and you're, and that's what we need to profile more. We tend to, I think, focus as society on a lot of negativity.
We do.
And we, this kid's that, and that guy's that, and this girl, the judgment from the bleacher seats on social media, it can be a cesspool.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some local websites I just look at it and go, my God, man, if you would have been in 1985 and said that,
Yeah.
you wouldn't have said that, because you'd be out back, But from the bleacher seats on anonymity land, I can critique everything about you. Well, there's good men too, and there's good women too, and there's a lot of good role models that we need to talk about. And you're another one. I mean, 30 years old is it's not an easy. 30 is an interesting time in your life. It was for me.
Yeah. 30s were kind of rough. 20s were still a whole lot of fun. 30s got a little sketch. 40s, I thought, all right, this is feeling good. And now 50, I'm on the fence.
Yeah, well, it never ends. Life never stops being thrown at you. Life never stops being thrown at you, and I would imagine, I was going to share with you, I had this dentist friend of mine in Bellingham, and he decided not to pay for malpractice insurance. He's going to self-insure for 7 years. And the reason is when these attorneys, first question is, are they insured? Because there's an entire protocol on how to settle. And I know how much I can get. Ambulance chaser type people, right? So it's cheaper to settle for an insurance company. And I don't know if you guys know this, but when you turn in a claim, you no longer have the opportunity to decide to settle or not. I should take that back. You can settle, but your insurance company will tell you you're going to settle now, and if you don't settle now, we're done paying. We're out of the game. And that's in your insurance binder too. So there's all these little things, and he just said if the odds of, he had enough money at that point, the odds of somebody suing me goes down so much if they know there's no insurance company to pay the bill. They don't sue.
Yeah.
And then 7 years later, it got so high, the liability got so high and crazy, and the settlements got so out of control, he had to go back to get it. So he was pissed. But
Interesting.
but this is a battle that's been going on, and it's funny that you decided to go into that just because you wanted to. Yeah, might as well.
Yeah.
I love that. You know how I chose my major in college?
Wow.
I played 2 years of basketball, so that's what I majored in, basketball, and maybe a beer or two at Wenatchee Valley with Frank Phelps.
Yeah.
A beer or two.
And then I went to Central, and I walked into the admissions office, and they said, what do you want to major in? You got to declare a major. You're a junior. And I said, business. This is how naive I was. And they go, okay, I understand. Which specialty in business? And I go, which ones are there? This is a true story. And they go, I didn't have like counseling and advisors. And I was just like, where's the intramural and the gym and baseball field? And so they go, well, there's marketing. And I go, that's kind of like advertising, right? I don't need that. That's how arrogant I am. They go, there's management. I go, that's kind of like telling people what to do, right? I don't need to know that. And I go, I want to major in money. And they go, Finance? I go, perfect. Let's do that. So,
Oh my God.
so I got a degree in business administration. With
Was the other side of your
special
coin
license in finance.
PE teacher?
No, it was always business and economics. I loved economics. I took economics classes all the time. I loved that for some reason. And law. I love law classes. But no, I always just knew business. I just didn't know that there was coming from Manson. Again, like they didn't say to me, oh, here's what happens. Business means X, Y, or Z. I just thought it was business.
You know, it's very different now.
I'm sure. This
Like,
is 1987.
I mean, there was
While
none
ago.
of that when I was in.
No?
I didn't know anything. Like I remember going to UW to my first class, and they handed out the syllabus.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never seen that word.
Didn't you have that in high school?
A syllabus?
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
didn't.
feel like
Never
I-
saw that word.
I feel like I remember that from high school.
Yeah, but you're a lot younger than me.
I'm sorry.
Okay, and then
So sorry.
and then they
Things
use
did
the,
change.
then they say the word genre,
Mm.
and I'm like, okay, I'm so over my, I'm out of my comfort zone because it wasn't the same.
Yeah.
And then now I went to a senior presentation at Manson last night.
Yeah.
You guys,
They're smarter.
they had, okay, Addie had 60 college credits. Maybe I'm wrong, but
Yeah.
I think 60 college credits already. She's already taken this class at UW I took.
And
Yeah.
that running start
I'm
where
like,
they're graduating
what?
from
Yeah.
JC when they're 18.
They have such a leg up.
Or Luke,
Now-
like Luke, who we're going to talk to, Kristen John Wall, he had an MBA at 20.
Yeah, I mean that didn't exist. Okay,
Okay.
I'd never seen the word syllabus, and she has 60 college credits.
Running start. No,
Yeah.
there's no running start here.
Like,
the opposite.
okay.
And here's the other thing. It's just making people, like, you never know, like, the path that you're supposed to end up in life. And this is kind of why I'm sharing these stories. The other one was on a spring break. I want to do an internship for the summer. So I dressed up in a suit. It's 1990, maybe 1989. I'm in Wenatchee living.
So wait
I
a
got-
minute. Does your suit look like Don Johnson?
Probably.
Okay.
I had feathered hair.
Okay. This
Blow
is. I just
dry-
I want the whole picture.
Blew
in
dry my
everyone's
hair
head.
out of the sports car.
What kind of car
You
is it?
still
Red.
had hair then?
I had a Rust X RX-7.
Okay. We got to get the whole everyone on board with this picture.
So I'm like, okay, what do I want to do for a living? I'm in a business major. So I had 3 internship interviews. Went to a stock brokerage. And they were like, and this is just me not being prepped or
That's
planning. I
intense.
just went in and said, hey, I'd like to interview. And they look at me like you're a 19-year-old kid. Like, what the hell are you doing here? And they go,
But look at me.
we don't have any openings. I'm like, well, screw being a stockbroker then. That was the end of the stock brokerage career. I went to a law firm because I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. Watched a lot of LA law growing up. And I thought this would be great. A lot of arguing would be fun. And they go, we don't have any openings for interns, dude. To hell with my law career. So I walked into this real estate brokerage, and his name was Steve Still, who's one of the amazing humans I've ever met. See, Steve and Sandra Still owned a company called Help You Sell in Wenatchee. And he was an amazing guy. He had a wheat farm. He was a beautician. He was a real estate broker. I mean, the guy had an amazing life. He grew up in Waterville. In fact, Craig Still owns the restaurant Wenatchee, like the Italian restaurant right there in Fifth Street. In Fifth Street
in
Mall.
Fifth Street.
Gosh, sorry, Craig. I'll come back to it.
Garlini's?
Garlini's.
Garlini's.
Yeah, he owns Garlini's. He's been very successful, and we sold real estate together when I was 19, because I got a license with this guy after this meeting. But he jumps up and he goes, "How you doing?" And he's very nice to meet you.
Oh,
Have a sit down. And then I was like, came home and I told my dad, I'm like, man, this guy really liked me. He hired me. I'm getting a license.
He's so good at sales.
And he goes, then it wasn't until later I owned a real estate company. We hire almost everybody.
Come on in.
For a long time, I thought, man, I'm really
This is
important.
like your own personal Three Little Pigs story.
You know what's great?
Get them
is
all lined up.
he still gets to argue with people. He still gets to kind of like practice law. He kind of gets to jack of all trades.
It is. It turns out, and that's my point. Like you end up not that you might end up being something else or doing something else in your life. You just never know where you're going to end up. And
Oh, that's a fact.
And just don't be down on yourself,
That
right?
is
Because you guys are
100%.
great examples. Like you broke your ankles, you kept going, you came back, played, you got in the Marine Corps, got kicked out of the Marine Corps before you even got in. Then most people would be done. No. Keep going, like keep asking what's next, and then you said the timing was right. No, you earned the timing to be right. So I mean that's just something that I think is so cool to watch people of all ages, though, that won't give up just because today is a bad day.
Did your folks ever question you, like, still working at Jet Skis Ahoy, huh?
No, they actually supported me with kind of like whatever I did. Pretty blessed to have like the family support I have.
Yeah, not like we paid for college, huh? And you're just gonna work at Jet Skis.
Yeah.
No, college
Awesome.
was loans, but
Okay, all right,
They-
that's better.
they knew we're believers, so we know like God has a plan for us,
Yeah.
like whatever we do, and so we like lean on Him for our understanding and like again like with the whole business, how everything like laid out. Really don't question anything in life, and like He gives and takes away. So we are very blessed to be where we're at, but we know like in a moment's notice it could be gone, like you mentioned, and I could be in a new career, which it'd be tough at first, but you know, we persevere and we get through it. So it is what it is, and thankful to be where I'm at today with
like
this
that.
community and everything. But just gotta enjoy every moment that you have, because you never know when it's gone or you're gonna be in the next one.
Man, I did not think that when I was his age.
We kind of knew you weren't going to Actuarial Science.
I mean, I didn't have
We-
that perspective at 29. I was still just woohoo.
It was just jet fuel. Jet fuel all the way.
I remember when you got your degree and you're like, yeah, I'm applying for jobs, and I think it was me and Hannah were kind of like,
Okay.
you're not doing that. Like, it was kind of, you always knew what he wanted to do, and maybe he would have gone over there for a year, but he would have been,
I've been back.
he wouldn't have been able to do it.
Yeah, how do you guys feel about like everybody when you're 18? It often feels like you can't wait to get out of this town.
Oh yeah, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
I'm never coming back.
Never
Yeah.
coming back. And
Can't
then,
wait to get out of here.
Yeah,
Like you said, your brother's not coming.
for sure. I wouldn't be gone.
No, not like you couldn't have done it. I just think this life was what we all knew you were supposed to be doing. Way better at this.
But do you have friends that thought that and left and came and they're back or they're still gone?
I don't know, probably.
Your brother was
I
working in
pay
Seattle,
attention
and
too
now
much.
he's back.
Yeah, I mean the biggest problem is we all know it. Being locals here is like, how could you afford it?
How do you afford
Right,
it?
Yeah.
like
Big
that's
thing,
Yeah.
that's what it comes down to. If you grew up in Chelan, I mean the reason my family is here because we're orchardists, and so we've had land. Like we've been here forever, but the everyone knows too. You never sell land, because once you sell land here in this valley, you're not getting it
You're
back.
not getting it
Yeah.
back.
You don't magically, it goes up in value, it appreciates, and so you're not magically making more money from it, so you'll lose it. So that's my dad's motto, and I love it. I go by it. I never sell.
It's true.
And so that's where, when we move out, we're like, okay, well, I think everyone's plan is when you grow up in Chelan, it's beautiful. You want to live here. So my original plan was move to Seattle, make the money, and then be able to come back,
back.
in vacation or
Yeah.
like do whatever I can to get back here. I just knew I didn't see an opportunity like this to be able to like live here full time.
But you had faith that something was going to open up, and it was
Amen.
meant to be.
You also started your own company first.
Yeah, I did start my own company. There was
What'd you start?
a boat and jet ski run. It was kind of interesting, like the 3 years.
It was meant to be then.
It really
for
was.
sure.
I mean, my boss ended up firing me. This is funny. He fired me. I started my own company. I saved up for years to buy my own pontoon boat. I started it from the ground up, and it was just one summer, just how it worked out. But I rented it out. It was one of COVID years, and I did really well. And then at the end of the summer, I was rekindling my relationship with my boss. It was kind of a rocky situation. And because we were friends, clearly, I worked for him for 7 years prior, or 7 years, 3. It was that 10th year I rekindled it, talked to him, started becoming, rekindle our friendship, and then we worked out a deal shortly after that where he was like, okay, I'm ready to go.
Well, that's a good example of not, bearing the hatchet a little bit and an olive branch, and let's
Yeah.
not let our egos and the narcissism in us take
Yeah.
over. It's easy to do. I mean, once you get butthurt and you're emotional,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I fight that all the time. There's things that I do that I'm just like disappointed,
Yeah.
that I did that. And then
Yeah.
there's things that I do that are challenging. And I think we all have to do that and
Yeah.
swallow that pride. And remember, most people are doing the best they can with what they have to work with.
Exactly.
And their programming.
That is very true.
And the other lesson I've had to learn over the last 35 years of doing what I do is in life is that people go through the toughest thing they've ever gone through is the toughest thing they've ever gone through.
Mm-hmm.
So my judgment of you, based on my capacity to handle X, may be just completely different than yours.
Yeah.
So I can't put my childhood. You had a lot of sport growing up. I had a lot of sport growing up. Well, that kid down the street was left on a doorstep somewhere and abused, and his brain is going to be a little harder to deal with some things
Yeah.
and easier in other things. Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
just passing your judgment. I mean, being, like you said, a believer and having faith and gives you a lot of confidence
Yeah.
and a lot of understanding and empathy.
It does. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of a road work.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of lays out a path
Mhm.
sometimes. It's
And what
nice to
church are
follow.
you affiliated with, or are you?
What?
Are you affiliated with a church here? Do you go?
I go to Sage Hills Church in Wenatchee.
Okay.
Volunteer there. That is also something I do on the off season. I'm down there, and then Wednesdays I do small group.
Right. That's a big church.
Yeah.
And
it
a
is.
young pastor, right? Fairly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Troy, Mike.
Mhm.
There's a couple,
Great.
but they're great. Yeah, I love
Mhm.
that church.
Right on.
Well, Mason, what did you do after the Marine Corps?
Um,
Like, I know what you do now, but like, you
Mm-hmm.
should tell people.
well, I said it on Home Sweet Home, so
I'm sorry. I will really go watch that.
That's the radio show.
yeah. Very thankfully, the Brett Pittsinger, gave me a job. Kind of created a job a little bit for me to come home to because I worked for Julie Pittsinger at Karma Vineyards the last 3 years before I left
In high school.
high school. And so when I got out, having some avionics experience, I knew I had some opportunity to maybe go to Portland to work for Boeing, and no thank you. I'd rather just come back here. I'd rather be broke in Chelan than rich somewhere else. So,
True words.
Yeah.
so I came back, gave me a job there, and I did that for probably a year and a half, 2 years, something like that. And then just kind of wasn't the right fit for me, I don't think. I had a really good time there. Built motor control cabinets for Van Dorn. For
Van
their,
Dorn sales.
Van Dorn sales, yeah.
Assembly lines. And
Yeah, like fruit packaging and fruit sorting, all that stuff. So I built the motor control cabinets that were off for those lines, which was really cool experience. Got to learn a lot of good stuff. And then from there, I got a job at Columbia Earth Movers with Shane Martin, and that's when it kind of clicked. It was like, oh, I like this. So excavation is when
Tonka trucks in the sandbox.
yeah, just a little bit bigger now. So once I got into that, I've been doing that, I don't know, 3-4 years now. And I'll be doing this. as
Now what are
long
you
as
doing? Where are you working now?
Work with Todd Corrigan, him, Ty Miller. So just still doing the same thing, just excavation. So it's
You're
been great.
building a project right now.
Yeah, your haystack project. Yeah, we're doing a road up there.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. And you know how long I've been on that project?
A couple years.
I've been in one way or another on that dirt for other people in the beginning before I bought it, and before I brought partners in since 2003.
Wow.
So 21 years later, overnight success, we're moving dirt.
Yeah, I used to.
The 4 projects we're involved in now, one I was involved in 1999. That's when it started. One was 2010, one was 2007, and Haystack was 2003. Those are our 4 projects that my partners are now in. So I'm over 2 decades of grinding and failing and grinding and failing before we started actually showing some traction.
It's kind of cool because I used to drive the little XJ Jeep Cherokee I had. I used to drive it up there when I was in high school, and when I got out, rode dirt bike up there a bunch. And so now, then I was the first one to move dirt on.
Think
it,
about
so
my
it was
kids
good.
and my
Yeah, that's
assets.
really
Yeah.
Like my
Yeah.
boat. I had a waterfront home for a while. I was always working. They're always using this stuff.
Well, that's why you were working.
Yeah.
Yeah. So growing up, what were some of the lessons with your mom and I that you can remember?
A lot of real estate, economy lessons coming back from baseball from you. Like, this is where we're at. This is where we need to be. Where we need to be. Supply and demand. Okay.
Oh my
All
gosh.
right, yep, I get it.
Wow, you're so good at that.
Oh yeah.
We had some funny stories your mom was telling me. Mason was a stubborn kid. Like when he was in preschool, you go to the preschool to watch them sing, you know, the recital.
Little performance.
Mason was sitting there, and he'd be like this, and he would be mouthing the words, but nothing would come out. And
No
we're
surprise.
like, your mom's like, sing, and he would just be mouthing.
Yeah, I was there. We
were
went
in
to
preschool
together.
You probably didn't know it. He was,
I was probably singing my heart out.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, I
had to stand next to
feel
him.
Like Mason is a fast forward of Brody.
Maybe.
I have to tell Brody,
maybe.
look, you don't have to sing. You just have to stand there and then say watermelon.
And
Or
act
just
like,
say,
like,
just-
act like you're
just-
singing.
yes.
I'll tell you
I'm
that-
not going to force you to sing, okay, but I am going to make you participate.
You should
Just
go out
stand
and hang
there.
out with Brody. He'd love it if you did. Another thing he would do on Halloween, he's not a theatrical guy, evidently, because he didn't want to dress up. So he would not dress up for Halloween, but he wanted the candy. So you know what he went as? A boy. He
Nowadays.
just went as his regular clothes. I went as a boy.
That's so cute.
They're like, what are you dressed up? I'm a boy.
Oh my God.
Give me the candy.
That is so stubborn. I hope this is not Brody.
Oh,
I'm
man.
going to be in for
I
it.
remember
I'm
my
going to
late...
be in for it.
My late friend Bill Sargent, who was one of my best friends, who passed away, you know, R.I.P. Mr. Sargent. So Coach Sargent had Mason and you as football coaches, right?
yeah.
And I remember
Yeah.
what school it was, but Mason was having a bad day, and something went down, and I look over there, and he is. Everybody else is out there. Well, you're 7th or 8th grade, and you're out there warming up for the second half, and Mason's sitting on the sideline like this.
What, is this your posture?
Yeah, and he's pouting, and I'm like, that ain't happening. So I'm out of the stands. I'm around, and I'm like,
no.
my friend, your life's about to get real ugly if you don't get out there with your teammates. There is no I in team, brother. So you're letting everybody down. I don't care if you lose by 1,000,000 points.
Do you remember this?
I don't remember much.
But he was so, like, he'd lock into this trance mode, and he'd just get, like, stubborn. And then,
Yeah.
and I think Bill was on him, and he didn't like it or something. I mean, and those are the lessons, though. If you're not participating in those moments, you'll never know that your emotions can runneth over, and you do things you regret. So it's getting this stuff out of the way. And hopefully you have some friends and mentors and good buddies that'll help you along the way. And guess what, guys? That never ends.
Yeah.
Whether it's your
That's
church
super
congregation,
true.
your family, your friends, life's going to hit you over and over again, and you're going to have moments where you're confused.
Sometimes really long moments.
Yeah, it's just life. Yeah, I have so many funny stories. I remember Mason got his first dirt bike, right? And he's like 5, and I got him a Honda 50. And
Great
you go up with your mom and your
Great
sister and your grandma and grandpa to the dirt track up in Brewster.
Yeah.
So when we get there, Mason's got all the gear, never really been on a dirt track. He's been in an orchard and stuff in a field, but never really in a motocross track, so to speak. And they're older kids jumping and racing, and all the younger kids are kind of watching them, and, you know, 5, 6-year-olds. So I go, you want me to get your bike out? No, leave it there. And he's kind of like, and he's sitting by him. I'm like, you want me to? Tells me, like, be quiet. Then he slowly kind of takes his helmet, walks over 3 other kids, doesn't know him, puts his helmet down, starts their posture, it's his posture. It's like, and he comes back, he goes, get the bike. So I get the bike out of the truck.
Oh,
and he
my
goes, leave it right here, and he walks back over. And this is a whole process, and my dad and I are like, what is he doing? But he had this plan. He had to, like, infiltrate this system of these buddies. And then pretty soon, he comes over and he wheels his bike over with their bikes. And he's slowly making inroads
Yeah,
to the
no,
new
for sure,
this boys
for
that knew
sure.
each other. And it was just nervous for you, right? And this is the funny part. So he finally goes, he comes in, he had to get his helmet from us, and he goes, I'm going in.
Going.
Because the older kids have been gone, right? And the first lap around, this little Honda 50 could fly for a 5-year-old. It was a good bike. And
Great bike.
he hits that corner, and he doesn't realize that they're king jumps around this corner. So he comes through the straightaway, and he just locks in. And he's going fast, way too fast. And he flies over this first giant jump, like 15 feet in the air, and lands on the edge of the track, does a complete endo, crashes the bike in the sagebrush, and your mom's like, ah. And
Yeah, I was going to say, what is Grace doing?
and here's what happens next. Mason gets up, yeah.
Oh my
5 years
God.
old, and everybody's like, that was the greatest crash ever.
Oh my
You were
gosh.
like loved after that because you're like Evil Knievel.
And that's crazy. I did that same thing on a 450 like 3 years ago at the same track.
Slow
the
learner.
same thing.
I was gonna say, I mean,
You're supposed to go around a little bit to get the lay of the land.
yeah, check it out.
No, yeah, I did the same thing a couple of years ago on that same track.
Did you?
A bigger bike.
You crashed?
Yeah, I was like, they're like, yeah, that could be a triple. I'm like, if I hit it hard enough, I could probably get over
That's
that.
funny.
Oh,
It just
no.
reminded me when you said that I don't do snowmobiles, but I did. I owned a Yamaha Phaser 1989, brand new one, and I financed it and I took it up to Antelope. I was with Mike Harris, who was a big time snowmobile guy, you know, hauling ass. And I'm behind Mike, and we're competitive, the same high school grade, you know, sports and all that. Mike ended up being a sheriff for a long time, still is, I think. He goes a little bit up on the Antelope Lake in the winter, you know, when they had a lot of snow
Yeah.
at that time. And I'm like, what a baby. So I went way up. I'll show
Oh,
him. Like
boy.
the first 15 minutes of riding the snowmobile.
This is like apples and trees right here.
And I realized why, and he was way better. I was horrible. He was way experienced, but I was like, he's 70 balls, you know, I'm going to do this. So I went higher, and then I realized the reason he didn't go that high is there's no way to get, it was a cliff. I didn't look ahead. So he's just kind of warming up, and I'm like, hey, baby. And so I have to jump over the cliff to try to get back to the road, because the road changed, and I'm just a complete idiot. So I crash the snowmobile, hits into a bunch of trees. I turn into insurance, get it fixed up, and sell it. I go, I cannot afford this sport. This is a crazy sport. So I'm all in. Maybe that's
where
where.
the sport.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's like anything. Like when we got into after a deployment, we were all sitting there and we're like, "What? Well, we're sitting here just drinking on the weekends. Why don't we do something?" So we all had some money after deployment, and so one day we were like, "Let's just go buy dirt bikes." And we're all kind of like, "When's the last time you rode a dirt bike?" He's like, 12, 13 maybe. Like, yeah, it should be fine. Let's just go buy 450s and go to the desert because Glamis Sand Dunes is only like an hour and 45 away. So we get up there and we just start going, and one of the first things I do is I just pinned it off this dune. And in the video, you just hear the panic rev, and I just. Luckily, it's sand. You don't have to do nothing.
Oh my
Still
god.
hurts.
Yeah, but that's when I crashed that time at Brewster again. I kind of realized my medical's not free anymore.
Yeah. I got that.
So I kind of parked the bike after that. I was like, I probably shouldn't be doing that anymore.
Carl Word would be pissed. Parked his bike,
Yeah, I've
though.
been thinking about Carlson this whole time since you've been talking about that.
He's heavy into old school motocross, and he picked up motocross just recently again. And he must be 60?
Sure.
Late 50s, 60s, maybe mid 60s. But he's a stud, you know, and such a great kid.
Did you see someone just gave him a Harley?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, fun.
Well, that guy's a selfless dude. He's really helped
He's
out a lot
so
of people.
cool.
You know, your sister talked to me about something she wanted to make sure I made fun of you with, so
There
I'm
you
going to
go.
bring it up.
As
When
long
you
as
were
she can come
young,
on here next.
Do we need to call your mom so that we've got dirt on you?
I know. When
He's like,
There's
this is-
plenty out
this is-
there. It's a small town.
you probably know all these stories.
Yeah.
No, your sister said I had a Lexus once, and you were a young lad, and new Lexus.
Oh,
and-
he remembers this story.
No, I just remember her bringing it up a lot.
Yeah. Well, he had ran his motorcycle into my Lexus and dented it,
It was
and
a
then he blamed
four-wheeler.
it on his sister. And he was swearing in the corner of the room that it was her fault, and she had nothing to do with it.
It was a
And
neighbor's four-wheeler.
A neighbor's four-wheeler?
Mhm.
And then she took the wrath, and she was fired up.
It's way easier that way.
So Mason got away with one. That's
Oh
for sure.
my gosh. You
Mason
know
was
what?
probably sitting in the back going, this is exactly why I pinned it on her.
Yeah,
I
could-
mean, I did not have siblings for that, so I did try and blame the dog a couple times, and you can imagine
Yeah.
how well that
Dog.
worked
Yeah.
out.
No.
You know, it's
You
fun.
win.
When you said Mason got away with one, when she watched, she's like, one? She's really gonna say, one? You got away with one?
Yeah, I remember Mason had a haircut back in the day. You guys all had long hair. And skaters, you're at the skate park a little too much. And at least Mason was. And I'm like, and my grandma took care of Mason. And when they were like, she was like the nanny to my kids. And we worked with my dad. And so my mom and dad were a huge part of their lives, right? Especially when Grace and I got divorced, you were 5. So, you know, every other week, Grace and I worked together. But my mom and dad were always the rock, right? And I remember telling my mom, I looked at Mason, he was straight out of the 60s. I mean, his hair He's getting down there, and he's starting to get a little attitude like the little skater boys at the city park, which weren't always like kids that had good, like, sound morals. There were some things that were going down there. And so I said, Mom, Don Morris skate park, right? And I said, Mom, go get this kid a haircut today. Seriously. Now, my mom loved these kids more than life itself, and she was a pushover. I mean, you know, they passed away in COVID, but he could get away with anything he wanted. Like, and so he goes to the haircut place, all right. He gets his split ends cut. I come back, I can't tell that his hair is any different than it was. And I go, Mason, here's the thing. He goes, I got my hair cut. I go, 1/8 of an inch does not count in my world as anything. So here's what's going to happen next. Your grandma's going to take you back there today, and I've called him. And if you don't come back and I can see a noticeably difference in your hair length, the next morning you're going to wake up and look a lot like me. Because I'm going to duct tape your little butt to the little bed, and I'm going to shave your head. And I want you to look me in the eyes, and I want you to tell me if you think I'm kidding. And so the next, he came back and he had a haircut.
Yeah.
Hit the cost-benefit analysis. Risk return.
Part of that was football. I thought it was cool when the hair stuck out of the back.
You had the flow.
Oh,
you
my
had the flow.
gosh.
Chris
you
Johnson,
guys.
the Titans running back, I thought he looked, my hair wasn't dreads, but yeah, I thought it looked cool.
Yeah. I always say there's two things. You know, Taylor was 5 years older, and so you should always thank your sister for being a good Marine, because she's a flamethrower, and you couldn't get a word in anyway. So all growing up, you just shut up and listen. And then you know, she was a good trainer. But
So what do you guys appreciate about growing up in a small town?
Friendships.
Yeah, the connections are huge.
Yeah.
but some of your best friends are also Marines.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Your Marine Corps buddies.
Oh, yeah. All those guys. Yeah. I'll know that. Yeah, that'll be forever. We had like good 5 that turned into like 7 towards the end. Like every single day we're together, and every weekend.
Yeah. Were you on the basketball teams in the AU stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Were you
Yep.
doing- So, what are some of remember when I coached? Remember I coached you guys in AU?
Were you on the AAU teams?
Not
No,
your
not
travel
AAU,
team. I was on a
no.
different one. It was grades.
No, yeah. We had played Chelan basketball together. though.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when growing up, what were like Tara said, what are your like you had to describe it to other people. Like,
Yeah.
How would you describe it?
Chelan.
Yeah,
Girl-
just your youth in a small town.
Everyone knows everything.
Yeah.
You can't go to the grocery store without saying hi to someone, which is really cool.
Valid.
Yeah, everyone always, I have friends who moved here and they're like, gosh, you just know everyone. I'm like, no, I just grew up in a small town. Like,
Yeah.
You don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, my parents have been here forever and you just know people. There's only so many people in
Yeah.
this town. So you'll see faces over and over again.
Well, that's what I thought when I was getting out. Like, where did I? Because there was a time all of us were like, should we all move and like buy a big house together? Like, we all go get jobs
Yeah,
like
let's
Boeing
go.
or whatever, and then go buy a massive house, just kind of hang out for a couple of years. And I was like, everyone else is all go, and I'm like, nah, I'm gonna go home. And I had a re-enlistment package on the table, but like last second, I was like, I'm just gonna go home. And then
Yeah, you
was
had
just-
some private contractor stuff that they were, because of your experience, that you could. Some of your buddies went.
oh yeah, a lot of them are still doing that. Like they still deploy as civilians with the units, just as like representatives for Boeing or whatever private company it is. But it's not Chelan, so I'd
Rather be broken Chelan.
Yep.
rather be both in Chelan.
Do you guys have girlfriends? Because
I have a fiance.
Yeah, he's
September
Yeah.
6th.
Getting married September.
25.
You're talking about what great guys they are.
Yeah. She's from Chicago, so she came here
You imported one.
imported. Yeah.
Nice.
pretty common though.
Yeah. You gotta import sometimes.
Common.
We joke around a lot with older guys. You know, you have to check the DNA at the dance if you're up here.
So you're safe.
You're safe.
I had to go far.
The
Yeah.
genetic pool had to change.
Well, the McClellan family's a pretty
Yes.
big family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Casey's a wonderful lady.
Yeah, she's the best.
She's
Yeah.
the best. You're in love.
Oh yeah.
Well, I hope.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, she moved. I don't remember. I think she moved here in 2021, and then we were friends for a couple months, and then
How'd she meet you? Were you doing anything?
Old Buddy's Tavern.
Buddy's Tavern.
The good-
A lot of relationships started. with Buddy's Tavern.
Isn't that a nice meet cute?
Yeah. Yeah. So then we were just friends for a little bit, started dating, and it was pretty much like from day one. We started, like, I think we saw each other every day for years after the first date. So now we live together.
You excited? I got a big day coming. You get nervous yet? You good?
Not yet. Just
That's awesome. Yeah, she's amazing. So, and you're still single?
Yeah.
There were things
Okay,
to be
we're-
single in Chelan.
We got 50-50 here.
On the marina.
Oh my gosh. I know. You know what? I feel like that almost is a little problematic. That can be a,
Life has a plan for him. You know, there's a plan.
I don't know. I think it got me on a bad habit of thinking there was just like fresh boys every week for the rest of my life.
There you go.
Don't, I mean, in an innocent way.
I didn't say it.
You eye rolled. I saw it. I saw it.
No, it's good. Work on the sales techniques. Yeah, practice on some newcomers. It happens growing up in Chelan.
Just saying. That's not normal for, when you live somewhere that isn't tourist.
When we dated, it was there's so few of us.
That's
I
what
think
I
we had
meant.
22 kids. 16 were K through 12. And
Yeah.
Desiree, right? It's usually here. Desiree Phelps. 13 kids in her class growing up.
Wow.
A year behind me. So when the summertime came, we'd date, but it was very innocent dating in high school, and everybody knew in June we were going to break up.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. I mean,
Normal, I guess.
it was.
yeah. And then there was occasionally the people that stayed together. Like Des and Frank are a good example. They hung in there at the end of the senior. And
I
they've been
always looked
together.
at them like, what are you doing? Why?
Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of fun, and it's fun. I bet for you to also be able to. I want to put it this way: do you believe what this is all about? Know of people instead of know people. Do you think there's something to that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think, like for me, everyone knows of me because of you. Like everyone's, you Rusty's son. I know how they know you by how they ask me. Like if they go, "Are you Russ's son?" I'm like, "You're new. You're more new to the game." If they go, "Are you Rusty's boy?" I'm like, "Oh, you're old. You're OG.
Yeah.
The OG Manson guy." When you bring
Yeah,
out
that was
Rusty.
a college. I think that happened in a college basketball pamphlet. The person that did
Called you Rusty?
called me Russ. It
Russ.
was Rusty growing up, and then some. I think in college, like at Wenatchee Valley, it just was in a pamphlet. So all the college guys,
Yeah.
or they
cool.
called me Buckshot because they came to my house one day, and my dad called me Buckshot, which was a nickname growing up. And then for the next 2 years, I got called Buckshot.
You got a way cooler nickname than I got.
You're a Fat Efron.
Fat Efron. Yeah, that was my nickname in the Marine Corps. They said I looked like a fat version of Zac Efron.
Those Marines are nice people.
Yeah, they're good. They're good.
They take it easy on the boys, no busting.
Well,
any-
they said like they were just kind of giving like name patches and stuff, like those nickname patches, like kind of joke ones, and they're like, "We're just gonna name you Zac Efron because that's what I used to get." Never saw it, but another staff sergeant a couple years before that was like, "You kind of look like an ugly version of Zac Efron." And I was like, "Well, an ugly version of Zac Efron's still doing pretty good." So,
There we go.
and they said, like, "Oh, like, don't name me Zac Efron. That's just weird. It's another guy's name. It's not a nickname." And they're like, "Fine, you're gonna be Fat Efron." I'm like, perfect.
That's your call sign, huh? Fat Efron.
Fat Efron.
There's Top Gun and Maverick and and Iceman, and then there's Fat Efron.
Yeah, there's good ones and bad ones. Yeah.
Your mom told me, you said there was a career in between there that you said as a young lad that you were going to own something. You know what it was? She told me that this morning. I didn't even know.
I was gonna own something.
You were going to do this when you grew up. You like some slushies somewhere.
Oh, Shell.
Yeah.
Shell bean
He
cheese
was so
burritos.
addicted. What is this called? Slushies?
And the
Slu-
burritos?
Oh, it was every my grandmother would take me to see Doretta when she was still at Shell, and it would be a Coca-Cola, Pepsi slushie, and a bean and cheese burrito every single day.
And then he goes,
Wow.
I'm going to own this Shell gas station so I
Yeah.
can have all the burritos as a
Yeah.
5, 6, 7 year old.
Maybe you just reminded me of that. We should do that.
Well, your grandma would have all kinds of beautifully, good food in the house.
Oh, yeah.
but No, we got to go store.
Yeah. Oh.
Old
Grandma
habits die
spoiled.
Nothing
hard.
like gas station food.
Yeah, old habits die hard.
Grandma
You
spoiled you.
still
guys.
buying that?
Oh.
He
Yeah.
He
is.
hasn't got the health train figured out
Yeah,
yet.
he's-
I figured it out for a little bit, and then it's, comes and
Ebbs and
goes.
Then
flows.
just the allure of that red and yellow shell sign gets him on the driveway.
I'm just loyal.
loyalty.
Well,
That's funny.
yeah, well,
That's
it's an exciting time for you guys, you know, in your life, and it's neat to watch, and it's fun to see from the outside looking in. I'm proud of you, and I think that you're.
So are you
It's
both
fun to
5
work together.
generations? The 5th generation?
Fifth, fourth, something.
Well, your grandpa's dad would have been probably number 1,
Mm-hmm.
Right?
2, 3.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting.
Peterson.
We always joke we've been friends for preschool, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like only thing that was similar about us was we broke our ankles.
Yep.
The same ankle, and then after that he's like water guy. Shockingly, not a huge water guy anymore. But his boats, I don't really care about boats or being on the lake. It's like
Did
whatever.
he ever tell you a
But-
story about when he almost drowned with me on a wave runner?
No, that's wild.
I don't remember.
Do you remember almost drowning on a wave runner?
No.
Really?
Probably passed out.
Yeah, we crashed. We were going pretty fast. I had this, can't remember, it was a yellow jacket looking rocket. And we had the little house on the lake over across the place. Across the lake.
Sea-Doo?
It's like a
The
sea-doo,
yellow
but it
and
was
black
it was
one?
yeah, it was like a
Was this the
yellow
condo
jacket or
house?
bombardier or something.
Was it the
Oh,
condo?
Yeah,
Bombardier.
that's a Sea-Doo.
Bombardier, and
Yeah.
so it was one of those. They were jumping in speed pretty fast at the time, from the old style to
Yeah.
the new wave runners, and we crashed, and then you got caught underneath,
Oh, jeez.
and I was looking around for you. Were 3 or 4, and
Do I
so I
remember?
reached in and I
Why
grabbed
are
him,
you?
and I grabbed him.
You
and
don't
pulled him
remember?
up the
You
ladder.
don't remember that?
And you didn't. You didn't want to go to the lake anymore for a while.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah,
Yes.
you want to be a reconnaissance
You're the
Marine.
dad that give moms anxiety.
Well, there's no doubt. You know the Chelan High
Sorry,
School.
Absolutely. You're the
that.
dad where I'd be
There's
like,
no doubt. Actually, I enjoy the medal
So
that I hold.
I know he
up.
was 5 because we were divorced, and
Oh my
Grace and I were
gosh.
divorced. We did there every other week. Taylor was 10 and you were 5, and we go to the Chelan Hills. I bought a lot in Chelan Hills so we could use the pool.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and back then the lots were like 10 grand. Right, so it wasn't a very desirable lot, but it was a great way to get to the amenities.
Pool.
Yeah.
yeah.
And so I'd go down to the pool with you, and there'd all be all these moms, watching their kids at 5,
Oh
6
my
years old.
gosh. They are all having panic
The
attacks.
one by the Chelan Shores, the one down on
Yeah.
the lake.
Yeah.
So he would run at 5 without a life jacket, right? He would run, dive off, like totally do the swan dive off the dock, and then swim back, and you do it all day.
Mm-hmm.
And these mothers would be like, I swear they'd have like 10-year-olds, and they'd be putting life jackets on them. And
Oh
my
my
son's just looking at him like, whatever, off the dock. And one time this lady comes up, I don't remember who it was, and she's just like, you make dads like you are the problem. I'm like, what is the problem? He's been swimming back to the ladder for 2 hours. The kid's okay, Yeah, I just thought it was funny.
Moms are just wired differently.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah, it's good for us. I probably need to tame down a little bit, and
How many
should probably-
questions have I said? I don't remember that. There might be a reason for
Yeah.
You're shocked.
Yeah. There is a common thread here about
Yeah.
you not remembering much.
Yeah.
Hey man, it's
So-
dramatic. When I remember we told you we were going to get divorced, it was traumatic. I mean, it's a tough time when you're at that age. Probably blocked the whole year out. Like who knows? But you got a Grandma Patty, and
Yeah.
next thing you know, you're buying whatever you want whenever you want. Because
Yeah, it was
you're
not a
getting-
Oh,
not a tough way to grow up.
My mom was so generous to people. I mean, if I told her, I used to joke, "Hey mom, you know what I want to do when I grow up?" She goes, "What, Rusty?" I want to be a bank robber. You'd be a good bank robber. I go, could I be your getaway driver? I mean, she was just so like,
The support.
just support, like
Yeah.
no
Well,
failure.
I'm just picturing. You mean there's 4 boys in your family?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
I mean, I've got 1.
Yeah,
And
we're
I'm
in a lot
struggling.
sometimes.
Days young.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's-
Yeah.
Get a couple more.
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks. That's gotta be. I mean, your mom was probably busy.
She's a boy mom, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
Mhm.
But then they all get to go cause trouble together. You know?
Yeah.
They get to keep.
Yeah,
each
that's
other-
even more scary.
Well, now us
When
three
you're the mom.
oldest are like running Jet Skis Ahoy, so we
Yeah.
grew
Family
up
business.
great.
You
Yeah,
guys have,
we have a
like-
lot of fun working together.
Do
I love
you?
working with my brothers.
None of you guys are like very similar either.
Yeah, we're all different.
We're all different.
We're all really.
Is there any challenges with that?
Me and my youngest, we had some challenges,
It's
but it was all like out of love. You know, you always want the best for your siblings. So, but like that, we clashed because of it.
Yeah.
It's like, I want you to do this, and you would do that, and so I'd be like, get mad. But my older brother and I, we used to fight growing up, but we got over that once we like separated, and we're like really close too. And
That's so cool.
Well, family and business works. It's very special.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's challenging. It
Yeah.
can be.
So
Doesn't
challenging.
always work.
challenging, but very pros and cons.
Your brothers
There are
work
pros and
super
cons.
hard too.
Yeah,
Both. of
More
them.
pros than cons. I
no,
would
for
say.
sure.
But still, the cons can be
Hmm.
thorny.
Are you excited for this summer? Do you think
Yeah.
it's going to be a big year?
Yeah, it's already been hot. Next week is looking like 80s, maybe 70s.
That's
Who
awesome.
knows?
Yeah, that's
we don't know until we get there, but
Yeah.
This is why we're opposite, because I'm hoping for not.
You want rain.
I want rain. I need to
That's
keep the
better when you're
dust
building
down.
roads. That rain packs it
yeah,
deep.
it does.
Not too much, but I need the dust down. He's like,
Less water truck.
I can't wait for it to get hot. I'm like, no.
You're like, I'm good.
Yeah.
And working for Todd's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a good time. Yeah, a lot of people. I drive one of his work trucks, and I get waved at all the time.
Oh,
Todd's
that's
another
the
guy.
other small town thing, isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Well,
When
Todd's
I
a
was
good- Todd
married,
and
my
Amber,
husband
great
owns an
people.
HVAC company, and if I drove that truck, I hated driving his
Mhm.
truck. I would just, it's like every
Constant.
third
Yeah.
car is a wave. I'm like,
And they always do, like, a
do you do this
double
all
take.
day? Just waving
You
at
just
people?
keep the hand out and just.
Yeah,
I gotta be ready for it because they're not used. Like, I don't know any of these trucks or people really that are waving. I know some, but
Yes.
they
but
don't expect to see
sure
me.
know that truck.
And so they
Yeah.
like they wave. And it's,
Well, I'll break
Who's
it to
that?
you. I'm now Mason's dad. A lot of the times too. So it's not just.
you're Mason's dad now.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
starting to be
better
Mason's
get
dad.
used to
Hey,
You
you
better-
Oh,
better
the tables are turning.
yeah.
Turning. So, you know, one of the things I want to talk to you about on a little more of a serious note because it's interesting to me. You're in the excavation business, development business. You're in the tourism business. Both of those need outside capital.
Mm-hmm.
People moving to town, people buying houses, building developments. You need tourists coming to town. We need money supply in the town that, from Kelly's Hardware to the coffee shops to your store. Everybody's fueled by money from somewhere else in a tourist town. Now, there's a dichotomy that obviously exists because you also love the town.
Yep.
You want the best for the town.
Yeah.
Now, here's where I get confused, and I would love your take on it. And I know to some degree it's just kind of people aren't affected by it or they don't think about it like I do in real estate every day, all day. But I am a big fighter for essential worker housing. My development companies with my partners, that's one of our prime directive, is to create environments where the haves and the have-nots can live cohesively together in a non-capitalistic extraction-based economy where the wealth of the community stays in the community. That's the mission statement. To do that, there's a lot of creative things like part of the excavation world, and we're it's complicated. But we believe we have an opportunity to build affordable houses where what I call, you know, average, normal people like myself, cops, teachers, business owners, nurses that could afford to live here so they don't have to leave or drive to qualify. This is a setup. So the question is this. We ask everybody, it's like a dichotomy where on one hand we need people, and in this case we need more houses because basic econ 101, supply and demand. If you have 10 donuts, you know, and 100 people want to buy the donuts, what's it worth? That's where you're at. That's where you need to be. And so it's like this catch-22. But if you say I'm a developer, or if you say I'm going to build another house, you get some poison. There's some toxicity there where that's not a good thing. Yet those same people that don't want to see another house built are really curious why the ones that are here are so expensive. So I'm wondering, is it just not a connection between like cause and effect, like supply and demand 101? You know, if we have 10 homes and 100 people want to buy them, the homes are expensive. If we could balance out the supply with some of the demand, that's part of the equation.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel when you need tourism to do your business and yet you want the town to stay, I would imagine, like it is? Do you
I
see
mean,
the
that's like the perfect world, right? You want the town to be how it is when you grew up. But when you have a giant lake like we do, and the west side is only 2 hours away, it's kind of tough. So I think it's one of those, like, I think I'm more used to it, probably a little bit used to the idea of it, just because growing up seeing and like listening to you talk about how and what. Because I try to think, if I wasn't your son and if I had no inside knowledge about how this was going, how would I feel? And I'd probably be the same way. I'd probably be like, this town's changing, this town's changing.
Mm-hmm.
But logically, it's like, it's got to. Like, there's no way it's not going to. I think it'd be cool, like, with what you guys are trying to do, it's going to change. Let's at least try to, instead of just letting it go, let's try to, like, put some bumpers on it, let it grow the way we can, where we can kind of manage the growth and be a part of it instead of just kind of
Having it happen to us.
yeah, just complaining about it.
How do you feel about that?
I think there's no wrong or right answer.
Yeah.
I know you have people on both sides, and like politics, you can't please everyone.
So do you think the person that says, I don't want to see another house built, but I can't afford a house to buy, this is bullshit, do you think they just don't connect the dots?
That's hard. I
think
don't.
It's just how it's people. I think that's just normal. You know,
They don't see, it's kind of like you talked about it once in the last show, apathy, where they feel like no matter what, I'm out of the game already. So
I mean, there's some of that, and then there's just a little bit of we skew negative
Yeah.
quite
Yeah.
often in our, how we talk to ourselves is even
Yeah.
a little bit negative. We're hard on ourselves, so then we're hard on everybody else. And then change.
yeah, change is hard.
Change is hard.
Who likes change? And especially when, you touched on it a little bit with Mason's Marine career, but when it's not your choice, I think that's even harder. I mean, making change for your own life. How many of us are good at making changes for ourselves?
Yeah.
Well, it's a completely different way of life that you've had. If you've lived here your whole life, and now all of a sudden someone's like, "Oh, well, that's no longer a thing."
But my grandpa said you can want in one hand and wish in another.
That's
What I have come to the conclusion is it's pretty normal in life, right? Where the vocal minority often believe they're the majority, and because they're the ones with money and homes, and they're the ones that have enough money to show up at meetings, be an activist, because what I call is the slice of heaven mentality. I got my condo, let's blow the tunnel. And I don't blame them for that. I get that. Then there's the silent majority that's been busy working 2 jobs, getting their kids to baseball practice, t-ball, football practice. And the last thing they're going to want to do is go to a city council or a county commissioner meeting at 7 p.m. on a Tuesday night. It's just tough. So you then have these political environments where people show up and they're voicing their constituency, and everybody's loud that is there is anti this or pro that. But it's not really the representation of the community. And I know that's very difficult for elected politicians. I mean, I'm not one, so I can see how hard it would be when you're only people showing up and the only people threatening are the people that have money, that have their own home. But I just always say, look, let's make sure we're trying to represent the people that aren't here, that don't show up, whether it's voluntary or involuntary, because they're the ones that are negatively affected. They're the ones that aren't going to be able to buy a house here. And we have to just always try to remember that there are ways to build things, although very challenging, that are full of pride and smart growth in a way that, because you made the point, Mason, growth is inevitable. There's nothing we can do about it.
And so's change.
Change is inevitable. Earl Stanford was my dad's class, 90 years old when he was here. He's like the second guy we had on the podcast. He goes, yeah, I'd like to go back to high school, but change is good. Change is always changing, but it's good. You just got to prepare for it, and then you just do your best. And he's such a good, positive.
Yeah, I liked him a lot.
Because I wish I could go back to 1987. I had a great year there. It was fun. 18 years old. What's wrong with that? But it's just reality. So what I like to, anytime I get a chance to tell people, one thing I'd like to leave them with is that growth is not a negative word. Development is not a negative word. If we don't build some houses somewhere in a way that people can afford them, we're going to be in trouble. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but if we don't start finding a way to keep people employed here, someday, and there's been many other communities that have lost their town.
Yeah.
Essentially, everything closes down because there's just no way. And that Drive Till You Qualify program is first kind of an arrogant thing to say to somebody that grew up here. And then B, at $4 and something a gallon, and daycare the way it is, That's not that easy to do either. Your entire
No.
paycheck's going to fuel.
Mm-hmm.
You're driving 30, 40 miles to get to some place because it's
And
a
lost
little less money.
time, you know. I
Time,
mean, it's
yeah.
lost time with your family or
So
whoever.
so there has to be some understanding that there's no perfection, and that there's not every person's evil in that world. And together, your age group, you can help shape this as well. I mean, because every generation gets affected by this, not
It's
just
not-
now, but years to come. Brody,
It sounds like they are.
I
Yeah,
agree.
well, I've met some cool people that have moved here in the last couple
Tons
years.
of cool people.
But I could see how, because I try to look at things from like everywhere, and I could see how, I mean, just on the political side of it, which I'm not gonna touch into, but people, they growth and they see who's buying those houses. Most likely, you could throw a dart at someone from the west side, and and they think that that life's gonna come here, and they're worried that it's gonna change who we are, or Chelan is, and then so that's scary to people too, and that's not something I think you can change. Like, people are gonna buy here, because why wouldn't you move to Chelan? It's
Yeah,
Chelan.
when you have such a nice place, you can't really blame people for wanting to be here.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And being a nice human being,
Yeah, it's
being a nice human
beautiful.
being, being empathetic and understanding and patient. I mean, all these things we have to try to do.
Mhm.
So, anyway, I just was curious about that because you're involved in it, whether you knew it or not. Do you guys have anything else before we let them out?
No, I mean, I think it was fun to hear from
Congratulations
their
to you both.
demographic.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
A couple nice young men.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, one more time, we're signing off from Small Towns Unscripted.
Thanks, you too.
Thank you.